Hi everyone, and welcome back to Kimbo's Comfort Kitchen, and today we are going to do chicken liver pate. The basis of this recipe is French, but I've added a little zinger in there, and it's what also partly what the way my grandparents did it. My mama and my fatma made it in Denmark. This is a lot easier than my pork liver pate that you can find on YouTube. Very different animal, literally. One's chicken, one's pork. But having said that, this is so dead simple. You can do this in start to finish in like about 40 minutes. So let's get going, and I'm gonna show you how to make it. Let's take a look at our ingredients. So the star of the show obviously are the chicken livers, which I am going to take out and remove any fat particulates or veins or anything like that, and cut them into more manageable pieces. And then we've got Tabasco with chipotle, and I'm using brandy. I'm using Remy Martin VSOP, but you can use any brandy. Onion, bay leaf, cloves, fresh thyme. You can use dried thyme if you like. I'm going to take the thyme and take them all off of the branches so that they're all nice and finished and soft, because normally I chop them all together if I'm doing a stew or something like that, but in this case I am going to take all the leaves off. Clove of garlic, salt to taste, and black peppercorns. You can use white pepper if you like, but I prefer the black peppercorns. And the coriander, which I am going to take those and put them into a grinder, so it's all fresh ground, but I'll show that to you later. And butter, unsalted preferably, and cream and onion. So that's it. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to start with, and let's get the show on the road. Right, so first order of business is we're going to take the peppercorns, I'm going to take the coriander, it's about a teaspoon each, and the cloves, and I'm going to fresh grind them. That's not enough. There we go. So I'm going to transfer that into a bowl and use that for later. So next step is let's clean up the chicken livers a bit. I'm going to take off the veins, or any of the veins. I'm going to take them out for the best part. It's always attention to detail. That may not seem like a big thing, but in the end it makes for a better product. And I'm going to go through these, take that out, and then I'm going to cut these into more manageable pieces, because I do not want to fry these, I want to saute them. And there's a big difference. So anyway, you get the idea, and I'm going to go through the process of doing this, and we will be back in a sec. All right, so next step is we're going to take some butter. My hands are clean, and I'm going to saute these onions until they're translucent. And once that has happened, then I'm going to add the garlic afterwards, because I don't want to burn the garlic. And this is on high heat right now just to get it going. But as soon as it's melted and the onions are in, I'm going to drop the temperature down to medium-low and let the onions do their thing. They don't need to be rushed. And as I said, as soon as they're translucent, then I'm going to put the garlic in. And I'll come back once all of that is done and we start using the aromatics. Okay. Okay, we're back. It's a couple of minutes later, and I am now going to introduce the chopped garlic. None of this has to be perfect, because at the end, this is all going to go in a blender. So I'm not really concerned about the aesthetics in terms of how it looks, as long as it cooks evenly. Now we're going to let the garlic release a little bit, and I'm going to add a mixture of our pepper and our coriander and cloves. And the thyme, which is fresh, I'm going to put in later. And by the way, I have another, I split the thyme in two. Because I have a brain like a sieve, and if I don't, I won't remember that I'm going to need this to hold in reserve for the last part of this recipe. So I'm setting this one aside, and this will go in just when the livers are going in at the same time. So if fresh herbs are cooked too soon, they lose all of their potency, or a lot of their potency. Not a lot, but okay. Be back in a sec. And it's a sec. So now we're going to add the livers, which, as you saw earlier, I had taken out any of the veins. There's one, sorry. I'll deal with that later. That's gonna go in. Now, it's important, I'm gonna put some bay leaves in. And I'm gonna put the thyme in now. And I'm also going to put the cognac in, or brandy. Now, some recipes would call for the chicken livers to be marinated in brandy for several hours, but this is an express version. And I gotta be real honest, I don't think it's really worth the time, but that's just my opinion. The other thing to remember too, I've got it on medium heat right now, and that is, I don't want to fry these. When you cook liver of any animal, if you overcook it, it just becomes bitter. So as soon as it starts to change color and cooks through, you just have to keep an eye on it. Then you know that you're there, and you can stop cooking it right there and there. There. And I'm gonna add a little bit more butter. Let it simmer. And like I said, it's medium heat now, as opposed to medium low. I don't want to fry this. I certainly don't want a Maillard reaction on this. I don't want any browning. I just want to get these nice and even, okay? Okay, so we're a couple minutes in now, sauteing very nicely. And I'm going to add the cream. And I'm going to season with salt, kosher salt. To taste, I can add more later. Remember when you're salting something that it's really difficult to unsalt it if you put too much in. So I have a tendency to go light on the salt until afterwards, and I can always adjust that a little bit later. And the pepper's already in there, all the other seasonings are in there, and I'm also going to add my little secret ingredient here, which is the Chipotle Tabasco. And you don't want a lot in there. I'm talking about like 6 drops, 5-6 drops. And it should be something that you're going to say it's kind of a je ne sais quoi, I don't know what that thing is, but that's what it is. And that's one of the secrets of a great recipe, is when you can't actually really identify one of those components. And I'm going to let this simmer. You can see it's kind of rosé right now, and it'll continue to cook like this. I'm going to add a little bit more butter. I've got more butter in reserve here, which I will use later when I put it in the food processor. So the next step after this is I'm going to let this I'm going to let this cool down. You can see, as I said, it's not overcooked. I'm going to turn the heat off, and once the heat is off, I'm going to let this cool down to a room temperature. Probably going to take me about 15-20 minutes. A, you never want to put hot food into a food processor because it'll blow up on you. I'm sure many of you already tried that. And B, it won't emulsify the same way with everything going in there. So we're going to just wait and see. We shall return. Okay, so we've let this cool down, and I'm now going to put this in the food processor. Doesn't that just look yummy? Well, maybe not yet, but I've held some of this butter, which I'm going to clarify, and I've held some of the thyme back, which I'm going to use for later. In the meantime, and in between time, take a look. It's still pretty granular. Now, some people like it this way, you know, like a country style. Personally, I like it really fine. So I'm gonna let this go for another minute or two. And when that's ready, we'll get back and do the last phase. So I let this go in the blender for about 4 minutes on high, not the blender, the food processor. And now I'm going to pour this in here. It's still a little bit granular, but I don't mind that. This almost comes out perfect size. Now you can get my ingredients, and well, not just the ingredients, but you can get all of the measurements for the recipe on my website at Kimbo's Comfort Kitchen. And we shall let this rest in the fridge for about an hour. And once that has rested, I'm going to put the clarified butter on top of it with the leftover thyme that I have, and that acts as a sealing agent, not to mention the fact that it's clarified butter. Butter. So we'll be back shortly. All right then. So I've let this set for a little bit. It's only been half an hour or so, but it's enough. In the meantime, I clarified some butter. It's not perfectly clarified, but it doesn't need to be. There's still sediment in the bottom. Now, if I was to continue to heat this on the stove, the sediment on the bottom would start to turn brown, at which point we would be making ghee instead of clarified butter. And that's basically the only difference. At that point, the brown sediment creates a nuttiness to the butter. It also raises the smoke point. But we don't need that for this, because this is just simply going to be used as a sealant on top of the pâté today. So I'm not really that particular about it. So let's take some of the thyme. Let's take some time. I know, but I can't help myself. If I see a pun, I gotta use it. There we go. And I'm just going to ladle this on top, and this forms the cap over the pâté, and this will, aside from the fact that it tastes good later, but right now it just keeps it from drying out and preserves it. So if you want to keep it in the fridge longer, you've got a few of them, this is the way to do it. This is the classic French way. And of course the Danes have taken to it as well, as pretty much anybody does, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, so we're going to let that set, and then tomorrow, which will be in about 2 minutes for you, I'm going to crack it open, and we're going to show you how to eat it. Alright, so here's the big reveal, and let's take a look and see how our pâté came out. Now I've just taken some sesame seed baguettes. Now you can take the butter off. What I like to do is put it on like that, turn it upside down. Or you can simply take it and spread it like this on warm toasted sesame baguettes. Now in Denmark, when we use a pork liver pâté, we often do it with Danish rye. But this is a different version today. So there you go. Now, as a little added plus, I like to put on, excuse me just for a second there, I'm going to put my habanero peach jam. Now you can use raspberry jam or whatever you like, but I'm going to put that on this one and take its little crunch. Oh yeah, that's amazing. At least I think it is. So I hope you enjoy this, and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye.